Hello, this is Topsky, and today I'll be talking about the Tons banner, which I guess it's currently is back because of the record restoration for Ceylon, I guess. Maybe to celebrate it or something like that. I don't really quite know, but yeah, the Tons banner is back. So today I'll be talking about the Tons banner. And just a heads up if you hear any thunder, because it's currently raining, so that's that, I guess. Can't really do much about that. And I'm already late since the banner's already up and running right now. So yeah, I don't care. I'll just still do it. I'll still record it more or less. I will be putting on a banner since I do actually have like the headhunting permits to burn. I have 16 on them right now currently. So I'm probably just use the headhunting permits until I get the guaranteed 5 star. Since yeah, I guess so. If anything, I probably won't. I'll probably only put until the guaranteed 5 star. Since I guess I don't really mind too much getting potentials on them since I mean they're still 5 star potentials I guess. Even though both fighters are actually not that good. But yeah, I'll try to put I'm pulling 10k for taunts, but at the same time I also don't want to invest too much. Since taunts isn't really that necessary in most cases or not. I mean it helps makes a lot of the stages a lot more easier. At the same time it's not really necessary per se. Figure what I mean. So I will technically quote unquote pull for taunt, but at the same time I also won't pull for taunts. You get what I mean? Because I do want to save one auto. So yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll just move on to taunts. So taunt is a range card, or lot, as they call it, but I'll still continue calling them range cards because I'm used to calling them range cards. So some other operators of the same archetype is like Midnight, Arene, Silver Ash, stuff and them like that. Basically, they have a weird range, not exactly weird, but they have a range like this, and can perform range attacks. But the range attacks is decreased by 20%, so they only do 80% of their attack instead of 100% of their attack if it's melee. So, but they will still attack melee, I guess per se, if they get into they're close enough in the range. The attacks will be considered melee attack instead of range, so they'll do the full 100% damage. So yeah, if you kind of want to know like the melee, like what is the melee range for them, I guess I can kind of a very good gauge for like what is the melee range for them is, can I get Silver Silver skill 2. The range of Silver skill 2. This is basically the melee range of the range cards. So once the any enemies goes into the fourth house, the range cards will actually do melee attack, so they gain the full 100% attack. So yeah, that's more or less about it, I guess. Don't need to talk much since there is a lot of range guards there, so you already probably own one of them and play around with them, especially the 3 star Midnight. So I won't go into details, I guess. So yeah. So I guess I just move on to the talent right now. So the first talent is kind of something like why people compare him with Blue Poison. Also technically the range for skill 3, but I'll talk about that more. Because the talent is the same as Blue Poison, which I've talked about quite a lot in some of my previous videos. But the attacks also poisons the target, and the poison will deal certain amount of ice damage per second for the next 3 seconds. So 125 at port 1 and at port 5, yeah, port 5, is increased to 140, which it's also further doubled against enemy that has weak attacks, which is actually most bosses. They actually will do range attacks, most bosses, let's see, except for maybe like, I don't know, Emperor Blade, something like that. Is most of them also do range guards, like even the big bad ugly also have like the AoE cannon thing. And then what else? Force Nova also has the range attack, stuff like that. So actually a lot of bosses have range attacks. So actually the most bosses will actually take double damage. But the thing is, I don't actually know how beneficial the talent actually is. You see, it's like what good ice damage compared with Blue Poison doing more damage than Blue Poison, stuff like that. But I don't actually know how significant the arts damage actually is, since skill 3 damage is already very considerably very high already. So I'm not exactly sure how much damage the talent actually adds on top of the skill 3. Figure what I mean? But since even against high defense enemies, it's actually not the big difference because of how high the damage modifiers is actually on the skill. Increase attack by 120%, it's doubled on second activation onwards. On top of it's already quite decently high attack, I guess. And then also increasing attack speed, so you can basically send out a lot of attacks. So because of that, I'm not exactly sure how beneficial the talent actually is, even though it's like a lot of people talk about it as well. It's kind of dead, I guess, to be honest. So if anything, I just kind of say that it's kind of like it's good to have. This really just consider like additional bits of damage on top of the high damage DoD does with skill 3, I guess. I kind of want to put it that way. It's kind of hard like to think about it, I guess. So I guess the I keep mention, but I guess I should also talk about the screen right now. I do not own taunts. I have not used taunts much at all, except for the skill tree. And even then, that's only when it's absolutely necessary for me. And I feel like it's absolutely necessary that I need to bring taunts around, or it's like either I'll take extremely a lot of time to clear that stage without taunts and stuff like that, or stuff like that. To be honest, since taunts does do a lot of stuff, it's a very good range damage. They also have some self-sustain from the second talent, which basically after taunts have not attacked for a while, he will gain passive regen. So yeah, just kind of like that, I guess. Well, taunt does a lot. Taunt does a lot. So at the same time, you cannot somewhat replace him with other operators if it's not that concerning. So it's kind of that, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of about that's kind of about the first talent. I don't know exactly how much the arts damage actually help out. Since even against high armor enemies, the skill tree actually just can only do that, like damage through or like melt through the high defense enemies already quite well, but without the talent, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure how beneficial the talent actually is. I mean, the talents are good to have. They help elevate him like slightly higher than the skill tree already does for him. So it's kind of that, I guess. It's kind of it's good to have talents, I guess, to be honest. So yeah, I guess that's more or less about the talents, I guess. They're good to have, but as far as I'm aware, they're not really necessary for taunts. So yeah, I guess I'll just move on to the skills right now. Okay, sorry for hitting the mic. Actually, I was scratching my face. So yeah, skill 1. It's just attack increase, which you'll never use it because skill 3 exists, to be honest. Yeah, I want to say it's sad, but at the same time I can't say it's sad because it's just basically like a very weak version of skill 3, I guess. It's just attack increase. I can't even say like I can't even say like what I should just say for like skill 1s. Oh yeah, it's good uptime, like 50-50 uptime. No, you can't say that because skill 3 is infinite duration. It's kind of like that, I guess. But yeah, you just never use skill 1, I guess, unless you're like building him up or stuff, and you're still unless you probably only ever use skill 1 and you're still building him up, I guess. Actually, when you're using him at like E0 E1, it's probably the only time you ever use skill 1 on taunts. But skill 3 just infinitely times better than skill 1. But yeah, so I guess it's a good generic skill for you to try to figure out just how beneficial the damage is, I guess, if you want to. I don't own him. Maybe I'll probably do so to try out to see how beneficial the poison damage is compared to just the skill 3 damage. Probably that's the only reason. Probably the only good reason to actually use it, I guess. But yeah, actually not even there. You can just not activate skill 3 if you want to test it out. Yeah, skill 2 is useless. Just severely overshadowed by skill 3. So yeah, that's more or less about it. Just, you never ever use skill 1. And then skill 2, which as far as I can tell, it's actually somewhat useful from what I've heard from my friend, since he did actually end up using the skill 2 for IS2 in CM, because it somewhat synergizes with the second talent or the passive regen, since the skill 2 makes Taunt stop attacking as well as giving defense. So he kind of used it as like a pseudo tank, because he did not bother picking up like like other operators to actually tank for him. pretty sure that the only other tank he had was like Monster from Kha'Zix. So it's kind of dead, I guess, to be honest. He just used skill 2 as some of a pseudo tank since of the defense increase, as well as the passive regen. I mean, it works, I guess, but you don't need to tank hits if they're dead before they reach you. Kind of basically the entirety of the reason why people don't use skill 2 over skill 3. I mean, skill 2 is good, it's by no means bad at all. Like increase defense, helping you survive a lot of hits, as well as the enemy's normal attacks. Take note, normal attacks. I'm not exactly sure what is classified as like a special attack to be compared to normal attacks, to be honest. But yeah, the enemy's attacks will actually cause him to release spikes in this range, and will do range attack. So take note, 80% to at most 4 enemies, or yeah, for just 4 enemies. Okay, ahead of itself in the range, and will only activate once every 0.75 seconds. Which, if you have a fast enough attacking enemy, I guess you could technically attack faster than his base attack speed, but if you want fast attack speed, skill 3 exists. But yeah, I mean, skill 2 is not bad, just that it's overshadowed by skill 3. But I guess skill 2 is also kinda nice, is it does kinda play into his lore of him being a sea urchin. Because I'm pretty sure that's the animal that he's based on, if I'm not wrong, a sea urchin. It does somewhat play into the fact that it's built based on a sea urchin. So yeah. But yeah, it's just overshadowed by skill 3, to be honest. And yeah, I guess I don't really know what to say much about it. I guess it's like other than the one time I was useful for my friend in IS, I don't think anyone has ever found a use for skill 2, to be honest. This is kind of bad. If you want a tanky taunt, skill 2 exists, but like I said, if they die before they reach you, you don't need to tank hits. But yeah. And then I guess I'll just move on to skill 3, where they expand the attack range. The skill 3 expand the attack range to the same as that of entire snipers. I don't quite exactly know what they're called. Actually, yeah, right now, the official term. But I'll just continue calling entire snipers. This I've been calling it for the longest time. So they expand the attack range, increase attack. Do take note the increase attack and attack speed. And the range attacks no longer do reduced attack, so it's no longer reduced by 20%. They'll do the full 100% attack, the range attacks. And on the second cast onwards, the stat gains are doubled. So instead of 40, it's 80. Instead of 16, it's 32. And the duration becomes infinite. So yeah, it's kind of that. That's the reason why he's like the king of general content, since it's high consistent damage. The burst damage may not be as high as like Chowder skill 3 or like Silver skill 3. I think it's consistent damage. The damage is sustained throughout the entirety of the mid to late game of the stage. Since you do need the early game to charge up, since you do need 30 SP cost for both the first activation as well as the second activation before it becomes infinite. So that is something to take note of, I guess. So yeah, it's a very strong skill. And in terms of mastery, there's what I didn't talk about because you probably will never use them. In terms of mastery, I would say it's quite high priority. It is quite high priority to master him. It's the stat gains you gain from the stats. May not look much on paper, like the 5%, and then like 5% stuff like that. But the fact is, because the stat gain is doubled after the second activation, so it's actually instead of like this 5%, it's actually 10% increase, as well as the attack speed gain as well. It's also doubled. So just 3 is 6 attack speed increase, stuff like that. Do you get what I mean? So if anything, the attack speed is actually quite the mastery is actually quite beneficial for you. The stat gains you gain from the mastery is very high. Just that it's not as high priority as certain other skills where masteries are more important, like AR skill 1, AR skill 2 not skill 1. AR skill 2 where you gain where you reduce the SP cost as well, you gain extra charge or stuff like that, or like you gain additional effects like how do I say, I don't know, or like certain skills where they last longer, or they gain extra tiles. I think short skill 3 is one of them. You gain extra tiles as well as like how do I say, what's it called, the MET one, the It's the old guy. Can't remember what he's called. I can remember his face, his looks. Remember the art. Can't remember what it's called. Give me a moment. What is it? No. I can't remember. Let's see. Okay. Just find it here. Helga. Helga's forget which skill it was. Like one of the skills gain extra tower range from that. Or you want like certain stuff, you gain additional benefits like Texas skill 2, you gain extra stun time, stuff like that. You know, if anything, I would say those skills, the mastery is actually more important on those skills where you get those skills compared to taunts where it's just flat stat buffs. Because it doesn't help anything out. It doesn't help like increase the duration or the first activation or reduce the SP cost. Doesn't do anything like that. So because of that, I won't really say the mastery is high priority on very high priority on him, but it is it's a high priority for him. It's not like the highest priority. So yeah, when I think just kind of that, Taunt is very good. But I think I said I'll be putting on the banner. I'll probably upload my post soon, like probably on the same day as this video. So yeah, if anything, proof for Taunt, I guess, to be honest, Taunt is just very strong. There is a lot of times where even though I cleared the stage, I recognize that if I have taunts with skill 3, I will actually have cleared the stage a lot more easier, a lot more faster, and stuff like that. So yeah, taunts is very good. There's a reason why he's called the king of general content. So yeah, proof for taunts. Just to take note that he really won't benefit you much until you E2 her, or E2 him, not her. Because like basically the bulk of his like attack stuff like that, bulk of his kit that people actually ever use is tucked behind his skill tree. So just do take note of that, I guess. You only get like the most of him at E2. So yeah, which I guess isn't too hard in terms of E2ing him. Is the materials too high? I don't know. Yes, the E2 materials isn't too bad, I guess. At least for me. I do have a fair amount of polymerization preparation, like stockpile up. So yeah, if you want to put photons, I can't really agree. Just to take note that the 5 stars of the banner isn't too good. But yeah, guess I'll just move on to that. Provenance and Adrena. I guess I also do take note. I own both of them, but I have not ever used them. Everything I am saying right now is all based on like my friends' experience or like content creators' experience or how they are on paper. So yeah, just to take note of that, I guess. I'll move on to provenances. I actually kind of sad. I did not have enough or randoms or the original primes to actually buy the swimsuit skin. I'm a sucker for swimsuits. So what can I say? I did not have enough original primes to buy the swimsuit skin. But if anything, at least the free skin from Vijay actually does look quite nice by itself as well. So yeah, I am using the skin right now, even though I actually haven't used Provenance much at all. I have tried to use him like here and there. Just how do I say? Just feels somewhat lacking. So yeah, I guess I should just talk about Provenance now. He's a heavy shooter supposedly. I just call him close range snipers. As per usual, I'll probably just continue that. So yeah, they have this reduced range, which is only increased at E1, the 2 extra tiles, which may not seem much, but it's actually quite big. So yeah. So yeah, there's basically close snipers. They have higher attacks than for now. They have higher attacks than most other snipers. And yeah, and so there's some way to actually deal with high armor enemies. You get what I mean? Like Schwartz have the defense debuff. Acid Drop has the fixed damage. Provenance have the crit chance with the talent, which I'll talk about now. So whenever attacking, there's a 20% chance that they will do increased damage. If the enemy is in the tower directly in front of Provenance, the chance is increased to 50%. isn't much per se, but it does help her against high armored enemies, like I keep saying. Each of them have their own way to deal with their own way to deal with high armored enemies. And the key also the skill also does help out. Skill 1. I guess I just talk about it right now. The fuse. So skill 1 where the damage is where her attack is increased whenever the target she's targeting based on how much HP the targeted enemy has lost. This doesn't technically it does somewhat increase damage dealt, but from what I can tell, it does matter in the damage calculation that it specifically increases her attack, not just increases the damage dealt to the target. I'm not exactly sure how it affects it, but from what I've heard, it does affect the damage calculation. So if you guys are really calculating the damage of the stuff like that, you may want to take note of that, I guess. So yeah, it's increased her attack by 16% when for each 20% health the target does not have. If you want to like rephrase it to sounds better, I guess. And it's increased by 25% at M3. So if anything, you guys have also heard about it, about my friend. This tends to be the general skill he used Provenance for whenever he just bring her along to like clear the general content, stuff like that. Like the early stages of like the event stages, stuff like that. Whenever just bring Provenance for fun or like to play around, this is the skill that he generally goes for since it's a passive skill. He doesn't need to measure. He doesn't need to worry too much about it. Know about the drawbacks the skill 2 has, but yeah. It is actually a very fun. It's somewhat of a good skill to have. The skill 1 is actually quite a good skill since the damage that Provenance can do is actually just very high. It just starts to rack up over time as she does more damage. It's kind of, according to him, it's kind of satisfying to see the damage just increase. Like first hit 200, second hit 300, like the damage increases after each and every single one hit against the enemy. I guess that's something that's interesting to him, I guess, but that's again fun to him. But yeah, it's kind of that, I guess, to be honest. What else do I want to talk about, to be honest? I don't really know. I guess kind of, so he did also mention that nowadays he kind of uses Provenance to kind of clean up. It's both for the fact that the both skills want the enemy to have as low health as possible. Skill 1 getting increased damage. So it's kind of using Provenance more for cleaning up, from what I've heard. They have some other operators to weaken the enemies, which for his case is pretty sure it's like Andrina, either Andrina and Brill. Since he actually have not built up Firewatch for some reason. Like he wants to use using Andrina and Imbrill for their high range, for their like very high range. They kind of use them to like soften up the enemies, so that Provenance can one shot them afterwards from like around mid health ish, around like half, like 60-70% health ish around there. My father is watching a video outside. I'm not sure you guys can hear it because I can hear it. But yeah, it's kind of like that. He's more or less using Provenance more for cleanup purposes right now. Since otherwise he's against the enemies with high attack, high health. Damage is somewhat lacking compared to like Schwartz or even Acid Drop. So he's more or less been delegating her for cleanup purposes. But from what I can see, he's actually a lot more happy with Provenance right now, since she really does clean up very well. So I guess I should talk about skill 1, skill 2. So basically skill 1 is a very good skill. Skill 2, increasing her attack by a lot. But the only drawback is that she no longer targets enemies with more than 80% health. So yeah. I mean, yeah, how do I say? If he did show me Provenance melting Patriot with skill 2. Though he did stack some buffs like Warfarin and Stouters, if I'm not wrong. So there is kind of skill, and that's Patriot is like directly right in front of Provenance, so she's more likely to trigger the crit hits. But yeah, he did show me about Provenance actually like doing high damage against Patriot. Pretty sure he was like stalling Patriot with Mudlock, skill 2 right now. Is it Mudlock? I think it's Mud, yeah. You just mark the whole picture in place and then have Provenance to just shoot. Actually, very high damage because Terry mentioned about it. 220% AM3. The damage modifier on the skill is very high. Sure, her attack may not be the highest compared to like Schwartz, but it's moderately high enough for it compared to like other snipers range operators. So yeah, skill 2 actually helps her deal very much damage. Like I said, also does help facilitate the cleanup role. Sure, it doesn't 100%, but yeah, as long as you have like any other operators to soften them up, to try to bring them down to 80% health, which generally isn't the hardest for most enemies. Provenance can basically just clean up very well, just one shot them clean up very well. So it's kind of more or less for what Provenance really do, to be quite honest. It's clean up, I guess, per se. And for that purposes, she does it very well. But the only reason why I say the reason why even after I won't say she's very good even for cleanup is the range. Her range is very limiting. If your operator is cleaning up, like I said, you'll want the range to be higher so you can cover up more range, more like you want it to be a bigger range, to be honest. The range is still somewhat limiting even if you clean up. I guess you put it directly at the blue box, it's not that bad, but like I said, she does still have quite a decent amount of attack interval. So you would generally want some other operator to be deployed at like the blue box there to help hold down any like swarm stuff like that. Say for example you're using Saga skill 3. You bring all the enemies down to 1 health. In that, the thing is, like I said, there's really no much filter. If there's like a huge swarm of enemies like that, you will still want something to hold the enemies for Provenance to clean up afterwards. So I would say if the skill 2 actually like if the skill 2 actually also somewhat buff the attack speed, I would say she will actually be a lot more better. Maybe not 220%, maybe that's not necessary. Maybe 200% is more than enough. As well as giving some attack like slight amount of attack speed. I feel like that will actually make Provenance a lot more stronger. But if anything, she is always still very strong if anything else. If anything, my friend is very happy with Provenance right now since he's played a lot more with Provenance, including like some of the inputs I had. He is actually happy with what Provenance can do. Even though the playstyle he plays with Provenance right now is different from how he initially started out. But yeah, Provenance is actually a very strong operator if anything else. Just you need to know it's just that you may need to adjust your playstyle slightly a bit to help facilitate the drawbacks the skills that he has provides, I guess, the drawbacks that they have. But yeah, if you can play around it, she is actually very strong. So yeah, I guess I'll move on to Andrina right now, who I actually have never used. At least Provenance I have somewhat used her. Because she's at like 30+% trust. Andrina is still at 0. I have not used Andrina at all. But I think I also did get her recently. I'm pretty sure if you go look it up, you can probably find when I got her in one of my pools video. Because I did get her after I started the channel. So yeah, Andrina is a wide range sniper. Or did I just still call them wide range snipers. It's a wide range sniper. Well, the weird thing about it is that they prioritize the enemies with the lowest defense within the attack range, or that they can target, because, you know, if you know what I mean, but they can target the lowest defense enemy they can target, and let me drink some water. My throat is actually getting somewhat dry, so I've got to mind drinking some water. Stay hydrated, people. And because I'm not editing this shit, so yeah, don't mind me drinking water. So yeah, the lowest defense enemies. So I guess I just talk about the talent right now. If there's any Abyssal Hunters in the team, Abyssal Hunter operators, which I'm pretty sure is Skadi herself, not Skadi Auto, because I'm pretty sure Skadi Auto is not Abyssal Hunters apparently. So Skadi, Spectre, and Gladia are the 3 other Abyssal Hunters. So if there's any Abyssal Hunters in the same team as Andrina, the same squad when you bring them up. Oh, excuse me, that's a bird. Uh, so if any of the other three is also in the same squad as her, Angelina will actually get an increased attack speed of 12, which is actually quite a lot. It's actually very beneficial for her because of the high attack indicator that the AI wide range snipers actually have. So yeah, if anything, it's actually quite big for her. At the same time, you don't really need it per se. To be outright honest, of course, even without that, the damage that she does is already very high. Just that the attacks are just less frequent, which isn't really a big thing since she's generally going to be one-shotting them even all the way in the first place. So it's a nice talent to have. Just as far as I'm aware from my friends, it hasn't really been too big of a deal. I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess. But it's a nice talent to have, I guess. It's at least like better than like the attack speed when there's water tiles in the map. You get what I mean? But yeah, I actually still don't know what the fuck the okay. I still don't know what the infrastructure skills is for, to be honest. Station at the dome, the self recovery increase. I guess if you ever use her for, I guess it's beneficial if you use her for like training. I really don't know, to be honest. There's no other thing that help out stuff like that. So yeah, guess I just mention about skill one. You gotta talk about skill two first. Since if I don't talk about skill two, you won't know why I want to use skill one for. So skill two, increasing the attack by a lot, as well as each attack inflicting movement speed down. You think that is very good skill, but the thing, the drawback is that it can no longer target enemies with less than 50% health whenever the skill is active. So you can only target enemies with like 51% health, or 50%, 51, or up to 100% health. You cannot target enemies with like 49% health, which is very bad in case you can tell, to be honest. But the thing is, she actually somewhat synergizes with Provenance. Because my friends does sometimes play like ranged knights, so it actually does help out. The Angina will help soften the enemies out with the skill, bringing them down to below 50% health, as well as inflicting movement speed down, so they stay longer within a range, while Provenance actually finishes up afterwards. Like, if you get what I mean. Even the downtime is synergized is both 30 seconds for those skill tools. It's kind of that, to be honest. As far as I can tell, that's what my friends been saying and showcasing. I'm pretty sure there's also some content creators that I watch will also play Range Knights. They also showcase this very well. How Angina softens up the enemies for Provenance to finish off, with both of them using skill 2 stuff like that. Since actually both of them actually gains a very high attack increase. So basically a two-shot thing. Angina shot one shot, bring them down to below 50 health, then Provenance finishes up afterwards. And the movement speed down, helping them stay within range. For Provenance to actually properly finish them out. So they don't wander out of a very limiting range before she can attack them from the attack interval. It's kind of weird, to be honest. It's kind of weird that both of them that synergize each other actually is from the one in the same banner. But yeah, it's kind of how people use Angina. They use like her to soften them up for other operators to finish up. Like especially Dusk from what I know. Like Dusk, by Big, La Pluma, where like both like all these operators gain benefits from killing enemies. Like the talent, they gain talent from killing enemies. For Bybig and La Pluma is attack speed. For Dusk is attack. So for especially again for those certain enemies, for those operators, like both of those operators, Angina skill 2 actually helps to soften them up so that they actually charge up the talent fast enough. And it's especially useful since, like I said, the downtime isn't a lot. It's only 34 seconds at rank 7, level 30 at M3. So it's a base of initial SP. So you actually won't get it out very fast. So actually using it to soften them up. It's kind of basically how Angina is supposed to be used for, including Embryo if I'm not wrong. This kind of be using Embryo S for the whole global range. It's kind of how most DI snipers have been used for, I guess for me. I'm building, except for Firewatch, since Firewatch usually plays very differently. Firewall is just basically, there's a reason why Firewall is called a nuker, whereas Anguilla is only known as DPS. Yeah, but technically you can generally actually would be able to one shot most enemies even if skill 2 already, just based on how high the attack modifier is. So yeah, you can only be able to get one shot them already, so that's not really a big deal. I guess. Against enemies where you cannot finish them, cannot one shot them actually, you cannot finish off Anguilla, so you do want to think of that, so you would need other operators to help clean up afterwards. Since if Anguilla cannot one shot the operator, unless it's a boss, Anguilla will no longer target the enemy. But yeah, but the movement speed decrease would also help help out the other operators to clean up. So it's not that bad. You just need to take note of that and play around it. But if you can do so, Anguilla is actually very strong. So yeah, it's kind of what I think about it. The skill 2 is generally the skill that most people actually end up using for when they think from my effort, even my friend. So I'm not exactly sure how true that is, since there is come out of debate from what I can see like on forums, like Reddit, even or Reddit, people are still somewhat split between skill 1 skill 2. But yeah, if anything, at least from what I heard from my friend, as some of the content creators, basically based on the videos that they upload, they tend to use skill 2 more than skill 1. So yeah, and then skill 1. Why you basically the only reason why you ever use it is because you do not want the attack, the HP limit from skill 2. So you basically want her to finish here. If anything, it's not really that good. It's not it's actually quite overshadowed by skill 2. But the fact that she can attack enemies with lower than 50% health, even with the skill active, is actually very beneficial. So yeah, and attack level by itself is already quite high. Means it's not technically not high, but just because of how high Anguilla attack is already, you will actually see some benefit from actually using skill 1, which is actually weird since it's the same as Taunt skill 1. Is it the same? It's even the same name. It's kind of weird. Like on two different operators, the same skill would actually matter. Actually, that's not weird. It's kind of hard. Kind of like different kits, the different playstyles that they promote, stuff like that. But skill 1, I would say, it is still a skill that you will still use. That's not as much as skill 2, because you only just provide a flat attack increase. But if you do put the masteries on it, which you should for Anguilla actually, which you actually should for Anguilla, since attack increase is very high, as well as having more movement speed down. We M3 the skill 1, the 100% attack, which will basically make her into like having actually 2000 attack, which is actually capable of even doing high damage against bosses. So yeah, I don't really know much more to say about Anguilla to say, since I don't actually own her. Everything I've been saying right now is all based on like other people's stuff. But yeah, my friends have also my friend that did play around with Anguilla did say that he does occasionally use skill 1, but based on the map, actually, if that's very limited, like the tiles, the like arranged weirdly, and actually cannot affect Anguilla to not target like enemies below 50% health, he would actually use skill 1. But other than that, generally you still use skill 2. This skill 2 is actually generally a lot more better. But yeah, know that the attack increase from skill 1 is already very high. More or less good enough on Anguilla. So yeah, is Anguilla good? Yes. Is she like high party to pull for? No. To be honest, kind of no, but Anguilla is strong. Should you decide to build up and play on with? I can't really say much as I actually can say, because you'll probably generally be better to build other operators. But if you're just building up for fun and you already have other operators built up already, like your Silverash or Taunts, your AI already built up already, I really cannot argue with you building up Anguilla as well. So yeah, quite a fun operator to play. according to my friend. I don't know. So I'm actually kind of wanting to build her up as well actually. But I'm kind of holding off for now since I'm trying to E2 my Schwartz and some other operate Schwartz. Who else? I don't remember actually. I'm trying to E2 some other operators right now. So it's kind of kind of putting off right now. I'll probably get to her someday, her and Bovana someday, but not soon, I guess. Oh yeah, so she did also gain a skin, which I don't know. I don't really quite like the skin to be outright honest. I don't really quite like the skin to be outright honest. Compared to E2R, I'm not sure whether it's me or not. My friend does like it a lot since he does have a glasses fetish, but not for me, I guess. I don't really see too much about the skin. I still prefer E2R, but each to our own, I guess. To be honest, he's very happy that he bought the skin. Okay, I'm missing Kim. Oh, I can't argue the most. But yeah, he bought the skin. I guess he's very happy with the skin, but not so much for me. Still prefer the E2R, but yeah, Yuna is strong. So yeah, I guess I just move on to Jay, who make it sad. I actually did not have enough OP to buy the skin either, save for performance. I, I didn't have enough OP to buy the big skin, which I guess isn't the worst, since it's just a skin. I spent too much buying the other girl's one. Yeah. So Jay is known as a merchant one. So basically that they have decreased deployment time, deployment speed time, deployment time, same as like the fast deployment operators, like Gravel stuff like that. But the thing is that every 3 seconds they will take 3 DP, and they will not refund their costs when you deploy the deployment costs when you retreat them. So you do want to take note of that. So unless you have like some way of just do take note that the 3 DP every 3 seconds is actually does actually match up with the natural regen of DP. Because DP is regen generally around 1 second, well 1 per 1 second. So you would actually have more than enough DP without any Vanguard to actually just deploy and sustain him on. That's why you don't deploy any other operators while he's around. So yeah, this kind of want you think of that. He does kind of let's say this kind of make DP more important resource to juggle, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, if anything, I kind of say this is actually quite a ingenious way to balance out how strong Jay actually is. So yeah, I guess I'll just move on to the talent first. Never attacking infected life forms. I'm pretty sure it's called infected creatures in game. Let me just check. Where are you, Jay? Where are you, Jay? Found you, Jay. Yep, it's called infected creatures in game, so I guess to count that. Pretty sure the infected creatures are classified as like the exploding spiders, like the bloodhounds, stuff like that. Some of the more early game mobs, and including the slugs, if I'm not wrong. They are considered as infected creatures. So Jay will actually gain the increased attack modifier on them. Which 145 is actually a lot, since most of the infected creatures themselves are already very weak. As you're talking about Pompeii. Pompey is a boss, so that's not a different case. But most of the infected creatures are actually generally considered more of the swarm mobs like that. They're generally more weaker. What they have is numbers. They usually just spawn in huge numbers instead of just having high stats. So because of the talent, Jay is actually generally able to one-shot them. So that she can hold off, like try to filter out more of them for your other operators, or even just finish them off the wave. But yeah, it help facilitate him to one shot the mobs, I guess. So yeah, that's really more or less about our talent. It's a nice talent to have, helping him one shot certain enemies that he normally would not be able to otherwise. So yeah, by no means a bad skill. So I guess I just move on to the skills. Where actually both of them, just take note, both of them are actually infinite duration. So yeah, I actually recommend that you eat M3 both for them, since the initial SP cost for you to actually get them up is severely reduced. But generally, it's really not too big per se. It's kind of like the thing with Subtle Skill Tree as well. In most cases or not, the 5 or 8 seconds or in for Subtle of 6 to 4 seconds really won't be that too big. But in high risk CC, it is actually a big deal. But yeah, it also does come and helping with survivability, if you're especially deploying up in against bosses, if I experience. if I experience in some cases. The word is Crocs. I7, the IEX7. That's another why I need to deploy J further behind. If you see my clear, you see in the video. Pretty sure it's uploading it today. You've just seen it. There's the reason why I had to deploy J like 1 or 2 tiles behind, because mine is not E2, so I don't have any masteries on it. I actually needed him to deploy that so that he have the 11 seconds that Jay needs to actually charge up his skill before he dies. But yeah, still think of that, I guess. If you don't have the masteries on it, you may need to play around with somewhat like the deployment tile stuff like that, so it should give Jay some time to charge up his skill. But I do think now that you do need the DP cost for it, you know. But yeah, so skill 1, increasing attack as well as the attack silences the enemy for 1 second at rank 7 and 2 seconds at M1. So if anything, I'll just recommend you rank 1, the M1, the skill 1, since 6 to 5 seconds is really quite good, as well as the increased silence is more than enough for me. This is kind of a big deal between 1 and 2 seconds I found out, with me playing out with lab plan I found. Because the attack intervals for both of them, for actually for J just like 1 second, but for lab plan it's actually more than 1 second. So unless like lab plan kills the target, it's very possible that if another ally kills the enemy, like the exploding spiders, the spiders will actually explode and kill that plan. So it's kind of that big of a deal, I guess. I've kind of found like the 1 second being big deal for that plan. And I guess it's not that big deal for J. But yeah, I guess the increased second would actually be beneficial as well. But yeah, it's kind of skill where it's kind of like a budget lab plan for my effort. But let's have somewhat be good. Which is since how do I say lab plan is not fast deploy, so you can't really filter out the enemies. Whereas for J, you actually can fast deploy him somewhere to get some like filter out like bosses or stuff like that, and then you silence their special abilities, or you clear out the other mobs, and after release the operators where you can release the enemy, when you can actually like better take care of the special abilities that the enemy may have. It's kind of like that, where you can't do that for lab plan in that case, since you can't fast redeploy, you can't like redeploy lab plan very fast, but here you can. I can't think of one enemy in mind right now, since silence hasn't really been that big of a deal in most stages nowadays, or most even. There's a lot of bosses nowadays cannot be a lot of bosses or enemies cannot be silenced nowadays. So it's not been that big of a deal right now. But it's still a nice thing to and a nice skill for you to think about or have in the back of your mind. So but yeah. And I move on to skill 2, which is basically the bread and butter skill, the most skill that most people use. Where you're increasing Jay's attack, and every single attack that Jay does will actually shield a nearby ally or himself for 40% of the damage dealt. The range you see down there right now, is actually the healing range, the nearby ally. If anything, I'll say this skill you would want to M3 him actually very much, because reducing the timing from 11 to 8 seconds is very big, so as increasing the attack to 50%. Because Jay's health attack generally isn't that high compared to other operators. It's generally not that high compared to them. Nor is the attack modifier that he gains from the skill that high either. But the thing about him is actually sustain constant high constant good damage as well as self-sustained healing. That's the big deal about skill 2. As you've seen me using J, like solo the duelist quad without me having to worry about anything else. And then other stuff like that. And then like maybe you see me using that against casters in some of my other stages, stuff like that. You can see him actually just basically soloing and holding down the lane by himself because of the self-sustain that the skill provides. So it's having high enough damage as well to actually kill off the enemies before they can like rack up too much damage as well either. So yeah, it's just kind of that to be honest. Skill is you're just basically using him as a self-sustaining partial deploy or a self-sustaining lane holder since it's actually attack and because of its attack very so low, so it's actually attack is actually high enough for that. Well, I guess we have actually never talked about Andrena's module. Oh, Andrena module, I guess. I'll talk about the modules later at the end, I guess then. Forgot about it. But yeah, J is actually very strong for now, if anything else. So don't quite recognize what J module does, so I'll probably need to look that one up. But yeah, if anything else, it's kind of why I say J is very strong. I honestly severely underestimated it since I did not know how to play with the merchant flag back then. But now I know how. But now I know how to, and I've been playing with a lot. J is actually very strong. If anything from what I've heard, Jay actually has helped out a lot. And my friend for his IS, if I'm not wrong. But like I said, he help Jay can actually hold down lanes. And as long as you have a proper Vanguard to actually like help keep your DP cost up so you actually can deploy other operators as well. Like maybe having a mortar or even just a normal Vanguard to help generate the DP you need to deploy your other operators. Jay can actually only be like a very early game lane holder. From what I've seen for him. He actually just use Jay as like a lane holder. So yeah, it's kind of that I guess. Everything. He's just very strong. Good damage and self-sustain. It's kind of more or less I like to say about it. Don't really know what else I can say about Jay. He's hard to play. He's hard to use because of his unique traits. But if you can learn how to use it and get over it, Jay is actually very strong. I found myself a lot of times where I was like, ah shit, okay, this enemy, what do I do? I need some self-sustaining stuff like that. Jay is just what I really go to. You basically just hold down lanes, or basically just kill, basically hold down the lane itself, or hold an enemy for extended period of time due to the fact that it can self-sustain. So yeah, I've seen my female friend who had this struggle with the duelist crocs actually use J to hold the duelist croc. Like she hadn't built up J at all. Pretty sure she just recently E1 J like some other time stuff like that. They haven't really get any levels on J. I hold J down, hold the duelist croc down with J self-sustain himself before retreating J so that the other opponents can deal with the duelist crocs. It's kind of that way. Kind of play with Jay with like that in that sense. So Jay is very strong. Can just do a lot of stuff. But at the same time the drawbacks that the trait that his traits provide is also very big at the same time. So yeah, if you can play around with stuff like that, Jay will help benefit you out very much. So yeah, I think that's really more or less about all I can say about the operators. I guess I just talk about the module right now for Jay. In the module. 减少时间减少 so I'm probably guessing the redeployment timing is further reduced. Okay. This is changing the crates. Okay, never mind. 之后退十步与回返。What is this word is like return or stuff like that. So I guess probably. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. It's just this. It's just this. I haven't used Chinese for so long. So yeah, yeah. It's the same trait, I guess. What's oh? Instead of 3%, instead of 3 per 3 seconds, 2 per 3 seconds. I guess it's actually good since it actually actually allows J to actually have actually allows you to have some natural DP regen as well, making it also making it not demanding. It's actually a good module for J to have actually. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah, this is actually a good talent for J to have. I'm actually happy for him. Oh, oh. But how long did I have to wait for J though? Probably a long time now think about it. But yeah, he's actually a very good module for J to have actually for anything else. Get it. And even then, even the materials for it is actually not that much. I guess the quality getting down can be quite hard to get since it's actually more of a relatively new materials. But yeah, it's actually very good. Yeah, so J, ooh, the J module is actually very good. Nice. I'm actually looking forward to the module. Probably E to him soon then. Yeah. So yeah, J is actually very strong, even for the module. I guess I'll check out Invina's module right now. Increase damage, increase attack based on distance to target. I guess it's nice. It just help Invina even deal more damage. I'm not thinking how beneficial the increased damage is actually, to be honest. See, it's high cap, and especially compared to like other wide range snipers like Embryo and Fartooth, where they have skills will give them infinite range or like extended range. So I'm not exactly sure how good it is compared to them, and how much damage they can skill. Not exactly sure whether her range right now actually allows her to get to the max 15% increase. I don't know how the damage modifier works. Yeah, I guess it's a nice module to have actually if anything else. So yeah, I think that's really more or less about it. I guess I'll wrap everything up and summarize things. Taunts, king of general content. You won't be using skill 1 or skill 2 for the most part, so just focus on skill 3 where just high consistent damage. That's basically it. You're only be using taunt for skill 3 with high consistent damage. So he known as the king of general content for a reason. Provenance is more for cleanup. Skill 1, skill 2 do somewhat similar stuff. They do also somewhat do similar stuff, but skill 2 generally has more damage as well, and definitely does more damage. But skill 1 if you want to AFK and not worry too much about activating the skills, stuff like that. But both skills are actually good for cleaning up, which is how which is how my friend has been playing Provenance S. Embryo, skill 1 you be used if you don't want to worry about her not attacking less than 50% of targets. So you'll be more useful if you haven't E2 her, but once you've E2 her, when her damage is actually generally high enough already, with the attack modifier to skill 2, you won't be using skill 1. And then skill 2 is actually just high damage for also including reduce movement speed down. So if it just do take note that she may not be able to one shot every single enemy, and because of after she damages them, and they fall below 50% health, she will not be able to help finish off the enemy. So you would need other operators to do so. But if you do play around with that, skill 2 does very high damage as well as have a good movement speed reduction. So yeah, it's kind of that. I guess skill 2 is very strong. Eden J, skill 1 is just a nice skill to have since the silence isn't that beneficial, since both enemies nowadays cannot be silenced. But it's a nice skill to have at the back of the mind. And then skill 2 is provide him with self-sustain, making a fast deployer that can self-sustain himself in situations where you need him to self-sustain. Or even help heal up your help as emergency healing for your other allies. So yeah, I think that's more or less about it. So yeah, this has been Dosky. I guess this is more or less my thoughts and opinions about the current cons ban. Bye bye.